Hello, Jerry Tachoir here with episode number 12 of Ask Jerry Tachoir. And I have to admit that in these past few months during this COVID-19 pandemic, I have been definitely less than eventful, enthusiastic, creative. I call it the blue funk. I just can't seem to wrap my head around what's going on and try to be creative like a lot of other people that I see. And it's a drag, and hopefully this will resolve itself soon and we'll get back to taking care of business. But anyway, back to our Ask Jerry series. This question comes from Lars in Denmark. Hello, Jerry. I first saw you perform several years ago in duo with a guitarist in Aarhus, Denmark. I was very inspired, and your performance changed the way I think of the vibraphone. Thank you. I immediately noted your relaxed and confident body image while you perform, yet you had both an elegance and an intense energy while still maintaining a calm presence. I've watched several other players on the internet and see a lot of loud flailing of mallets with one dynamic level, loud. Your playing is more dynamic than most and is something I hope to emulate. What might you be thinking as you are playing to get both the nice dynamics and a very articulate and clear tone? I'm struggling primarily in clarity and articulation and could use your advice. Thanks, Lars from Denmark. Well, Lars, you hit on all of the key points that I try to take advantage of and try to think about as I'm playing. First of all, I try to make sure that my playing is as clean as possible. In other words, I work on my phrasing, my dampening techniques, and I try to make sure that as I'm playing my lines, that my head is conceiving that the lines are clean and fluid and are articulate. And the way to do that is actually to record yourself, because you'll hear real quickly what you need to work on, especially in the analog world where anything that would be ringing too much would simply just saturate the tape and distort. But anyway, as you record yourself, you'll quickly understand what you need to do to develop a clarity and technique. Regarding tone, tone is an issue that I thought about a lot. And I remember as I was studying that every vibes player pretty much sounded like every other vibes player in terms of you picked up mallets, you hit an instrument, it went thunk, you know, and they all sounded the same. And then I would hear guitar players, and you could identify guitar players based on their sound and their tone quality. And I wanted to try to do that. So obviously, my first choice to get the tone that I want is the instrument that I choose. And I don't choose Musser just because I happen to be a Musser artist all of my life since the beginning. I choose Musser because it has, without any question, the warmest, nicest bars and sound that you can get on instruments. Every other company obviously tries to emulate what's going on in the Musser world. Yes, there has been frustrations with this company in terms of I've been after them for probably 30 years to finish this instrument. I go from F to F, 3 octaves. All I need is E, D, C, down to C. If we get an instrument with an extended range down to C, I'd be the happiest camper going. Yes, there are other companies who make extended range instrument. I've tried pretty much all of them, and I've come somewhat disappointed by what I've heard. There was one company that I kind of liked the instrument. It's just, I wasn't ready to make any kind of change. I mean, I'm very satisfied with my Musser instrument. And once they get this resolved, which I have been assured is in the works, someday it'll happen, and I'm hoping in my lifetime. But the key to getting clarity is not to overplay. And again, I see a lot of players too. I mean, just wail and arms move and just crunching the instrument, hitting it really hard. And when you do that, and I used to do that too. When I was at Berkeley studying, I was a wailer. I mean, after a concert, I'd be soaking wet and sweating. And then all of a sudden, I started realizing that my wrists were hurting. My elbows were hurting. I was tired. And it's just because of all the physical exertion to try to play your instrument. And then I would watch piano players, and piano players would just kind of sit back and they would just play real nice in a comfortable stance and just like let their fingers do the thing. And that's what I wanted to do. So at that point, I quit listening to vibes players. I quit watching vibes players. I wanted to be a piano player stuck in the world of 3-octave vibraphone with these mallets. And so I started to try to figure out what they're doing, predominantly with their left hand and their right hand, and how they're pulling out different dynamics, whether it's loud or soft, and just kind of smooth and making things work. And that's kind of what I tried to do. And that's been my modus operandi since the beginning, is both clarity, articulation, dynamics. This instrument isn't very dynamic. I mean, the softs can be very soft. The louds don't get very loud. So for that reason, a lot of people tend to play in a range of mezzo forte to forte. They stick in that little narrow range of dynamics. I found that if you wanted to be dynamic on this instrument, you have to accentuate the dynamic. If you want soft, you have to be really soft. If you want loud, you have to, again, be really loud, and then try to find all the variables in between. So that's sort of my thinking, and it's not really any rocket science, and it's not really anything special other than find an instrument that you dig the sound of, try to develop a tone. Now, the tone also comes from your choice of mallets. And again, I'm very fortunate right now that I have an endorsement with Innovative Percussion. They make the Jerry Tachoir JT23 vibraphone mallet. And I worked for about a year on prototypes to get this mallet where I could use it for both performance, I could use it for recording, I could use it from back and forth from marimba to vibraphone, and I get a dynamic range, and I get a good tone. Tone to me was real important. I want to be able to hear what the instrument does and what the instrument sounds like acoustically. And these mallets, it unquestionably just gives the nicest tone of any mallets I've ever played in my life, and I'm going to stick with them, and they're just great. So I highly recommend finding a mallet that you dig that gives you the sound effect and the tone that you need. So Lars, I hope that gave you somewhat information. Just work hard at it, use your ears, listen to what's going on, try to get a tone, try to be clean with your playing, and I think you'll do well. Also, I want to remind everybody that go to my website, www.tachoir.com, and if you want to ask me a question, up in the upper right-hand corner, I believe, is a little contacts button. Click on the contact, fill out the information, ask your question, and hopefully I'll use it in one of these videos. I do get a lot of questions, and I kind of lately have been slack in responding to them, but hopefully things will get better once I get my head straight after this pandemic. So anyway, stick with me, and I want to thank everybody for really enjoying these videos. The comments I've been getting have been great. Let's keep the instrument and let's keep music alive, and hopefully things will develop after this, and we can get back into not having to worry about all the social distancing and getting sick and playing music. That's what we want to do, and that's what it's all about. So thank you so much again, and continue asking me some questions, and look forward to it. Bye-bye.